Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're going to be talking about some planetary energies that have already been affecting us and are going to continue to affect us. Hi, my name is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman. I'm an intuitive psychic medium here in the Sugar Land area. That's just outside of Houston. I work with my angels and guides to assist my clients in many areas of their lives, to bring them special messages from loved ones who have passed, to dialogue with their angels for guidance into their own situation, or to assist them with their own psychic abilities. If you like my content, please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. So we are talking about Pluto in retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. And if for August, it's already been affecting us since April when it went into full retrograde. It will continue to affect us full on until October 2nd, and then it will go into post shadow until January 25th, 22. So kind of energy that we've been getting from Pluto is a lot of karma coming back to people. And this is kind of not the same karma that you would get from Saturn. It's a little bit different. This is kind of like things that have been keeping you away from things, kind of like any old fears or limiting beliefs, kind of ready to kind of come out. Any toxic energies that you've not released or let go of. That's the kind of karma that we're dealing with Pluto in retrograde. This is kind of a lot of times I have heard from a lot of people that they have really been wanting to kind of be away from everybody else and kind of take some time to themselves. I almost call this kind of like your cave time. And this is a really great time where people want to just kind of like take a step back, kind of like, take some time to yourself, maybe do a meditation, maybe do something on their own. And it's not that they're mad or anything else. It's just kind of like, I need my away space. I need my time away from everybody else so I can kind of center myself and kind of get ready for what's coming up. The other thing that I've been seeing a lot of is a lot of falsehoods coming through, and kind of like things that we thought were correct, or things that we thought we had corrected at some point, or looking at things differently. I'll kind of give you an example. I had a client that I was talking to yesterday, and she had a lot of realizations of like, wow, I didn't realize this. And we were talking about like her family, her childhood, and kind of like things are not going well now. But she goes, I keep kind of going back to this time frame as a child, as like 10 or 11 years old. And she's kind of like, I'm just thinking about it differently. And sometimes we just do that on our own. It's kind of like, now that I'm an adult, I see what I did with my parents or tried to get away with or whatever it is. And it kind of triggers you back then. But this is kind of like how she was being treated, and not just with her sister, but it's kind of like how she felt like her sister kind of got more of the praise and she got more of the blame. And so that's kind of like, how do I deal with this? And so this is kind of some stuff that we've been coming up with. And so there may be some new realizations coming in there, or some new thoughts or ideas. And I would say don't kind of just push it off to the side. This is a great time with Pluto in retrograde to kind of keep it coming up so you can kind of let it go completely. Let's go through this. Let's check it out. Let's kind of clear out the box. Look at it from a different perspective, and then talk to your parents, talk to your siblings, that those sort of things, so you can kind of, as much as you can, and get it voiced out so you can kind of feel like, I've come to a healed spot in this. I can deal with this a little bit differently. The other thing that has been kind of coming up, so this is kind of like number 3, is kind of like feeling manipulated or victimized. And this has been coming up quite a lot. Or things that are triggering you now are bringing up like when you've been manipulated in the past. So I was talking with a client of mine, and he was just like, I just keep feeling like my girlfriend is trying to manipulate me, or trying to always do what she wants to do, and anything that I want to do is kind of downplayed or kind of pushed to the side. And I said, I can understand that. Sometimes it's just kind of like they want to do something differently, and he goes, but this is not once in a while, this is all the time. And I was like, that's when it becomes a problem, when it's not kind of in balance. And he's like, I'm feeling like this victim. I feel like, like I'm a child that, bringing up like I want to do something differently, or I want to go somewhere else. And whenever I do, she kind of comes up with this victimization, like, oh my gosh, you're leaving me, or you don't want to take me somewhere, or you want to hide me from your friends. And so it's kind of triggering him from his childhood with his mother. So that's what I'm talking about. This is kind of like an interesting phenomenon. So we are talking about current day, kind of triggering stuff back from our childhood, and this manipulation and victimization that other people are kind of bringing to us. And that's kind of an interesting phenomenon that's happening. And I've seen this more and more. That's why I said we got to keep going through the box and get all the way through it, so we can kind of really, what do I need to see in this? What do I need to do differently to get rid of this energy? And sometimes it's voicing things out, sometimes it's changing our attitude or changing how we're going to deal with it, which makes everybody else in the situation kind of deal with it as well. So my fourth thing is, there is a lot of people that are kind of going through a death of something. And I think this is really interesting because they're kind of having like dreams about either them passing, or their kids passing, or their parents passing. And I was like, it's not necessarily passing, it's kind of like an end of a chapter coming. So several of them are kind of like, my kids are now, going off to college. So I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I don't have any children anymore. Or, like my child it's his senior year. And so now I'm not a mom of a child. I'm a kind of like a mom of an adult almost. And a lot of people are kind of like thinking about this differently. And I was like, it's just kind of like the death of who you were in that part, and then a birth of something else. It's not necessarily a literal death. It's kind of like a death of being a stay-at-home mom with young children. And now that's changing and kind of giving you an option to kind of make different changes. Or what do you want to do? Do you want to go back to work? Do you want to change something? Where do you want to go with this? And I've seen this as well with my clients that are like in their 60s or 70s. Their parents are passing. And so they're kind of like, now I'm the adult in the family. I'm the mom or the grandmother. And how is this coming about and changing? And they're having different dreams about this. So it's kind of like I said, it's the death of who you were and the birth of who you are going to become, or where you want to go with this. So this is kind of like an interesting phenomena. And so these are kind of like the things that are coming up with Pluto in retrograde. One of the other ones is a lot of people, kind of like this number 5, this is people's idea of really working through their past lives. I've had this very often, probably in the last few weeks more than I have prior to this. There's always a few that are interested, but this is kind of like coming on much stronger than others times. And it's kind of like, I want to see my past lives. I want to do a past life regression, and I want to see it, and I want to feel it, and kind of work through it, and kind of see it from different ways. And a lot of them have really been thinking about their past lives a lot over the last few months, and kind of like, how do I want to look at this? How do I want to see this? How do I want to change or modify this? That's the kind of the part that's coming through. I think that's a really interesting part, because past lives can teach us so many things. They can teach us about like why we have these fears that don't make sense in this life, things that we want to change, or kind of like, I've never had this life and I'm afraid of this, or in fear of this, or that's the part that kind of like, this is really interesting. Why is this coming forward? This is a time to kind of really look at this differently and kind of get your own perspective. One of the things I like about past life regression is when I do it, it's a meditation. So people come here, we'll meditate for a little bit, and we'll kind of go through some past lives and kind of like some ideas or hints or suggestions of what they want to see or what lifetimes they want to go to. That's kind of the cool part. And we'll look at them differently and kind of talk about it when they come out of the meditation. Kind of like, what did you see? What did you feel? And that's the cool part. Because this is coming up, because this is kind of like where you're leading to, and it's kind of like the triggers from past lives are coming up now, so we can work through them. And kind of Pluto in retrograde is allowing that to come up, almost like that phoenix rising from the past. So we kind of want to bring that up so we can change or modify the way we're dealing with things in this life, change what's coming on around us. So that's kind of like a really important thing. So if you've been going through any of this, it's completely understandable. But one of the things that I get is kind of some of the best ways to kind of deal with this. Some of it is kind of make sure that when something comes up, you're kind of, like I said, working through the whole box of it. Don't just get halfway through it and kind of like, I'm over this. That's not how to work through this. Second, make sure you are cleansing and clearing your space. If that's burning sage or if that's decluttering, those are really good things. If you're cleansing your space, making sure that you've done it again and again, because like I said, when people are going through this, you can get caught up in the energy that they're releasing, and kind of, we don't want to bring any of that home. So the other part is finding people kind of like when they're out and about, making sure that your energy is protected when you're out, like at the grocery store, at the mall, or whatever it is that you're doing out and about, or even if you're going back to the office now. It's kind of like making sure that your energy is protected in all the situations, so you don't pick up any of that. One of the things I've noticed on the rise is a lot of bullying, and I have seen this in many different aspects. It's one of those people that are being bullied, kind of like someone will say something like, "Oh, you're doing this because you want this to happen," or I'm saying, like, you're doing this because you want preferential treatment. Kind of like going back to that school kid stuff, and it's coming up more and more often. And I even see this as my clients are going back into the office. I'm seeing this and noticing this in their office space as well. And so you want to make sure that you're kind of clearing out that old baggage and kind of dealing with that now, so it doesn't keep coming back up. But make sure that when you're speaking your truth, a lot of times when bullies are doing this, they're really doing it because they don't know how to deal with something. And so it's kind of like, let me dump my negative energy on you. And that is a really understandable thing that they're doing, but it's one of those, it doesn't mean you need to accept it. It's kind of like, here's my negative energy, and you can be like, no, thank you, I'm over that part. So I think it's really important to kind of keep that in mind. But if you're in a situation where you feel like you're being bullied, make sure that you're not taking that energy on. Make sure that you're keeping your energy protected. And make sure that you're voicing things out. A lot of times when someone is trying to make you afraid, it's because they feel afraid. If they're trying to make you feel like a victim, it's because they feel like a victim. So it's kind of like, I want you to feel the way I'm feeling in a weird sort of way. So if you start to feel that, make sure that you're calling them on it and allowing that healing to come through. That's the really important part, to make sure that the healing is coming through. And calling someone on it is not necessarily a bad thing. It voices things out. It allows you to voice things from your childhood or from your past, or even now, like, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm not going to allow you to speak to me in this manner. It voices it out for you, but also listening to their side of it doesn't mean they're the right or they're wrong. It just means, like, I'm going to voice this out and get this energy out, so we can talk about it. Let's do a couple angel cards and see what our angels are giving us on insight on this. Got a couple of them popping here. There, this one is coming up. So, blessings. When a planet is in retrograde, it really brings us so many blessings. It's a time to kind of look at our blessings in a different way. This planet is doing it so we can work through things, because this is a really great time to kind of review, reflect, reassess what's going on around us, kind of what areas do we want to fix or update or kind of take care of. So with so many of them in retrograde, this is a great blessing time for all of us. Let's see, my next one is this one, forgiveness. There is so much forgiveness that is out there. And one of the things that I love to tell people is you need to forgive yourself as well. If you talked to your best friend the way you talk to yourself, you'd be mad and upset. You totally would. And it's one of those, make sure that you're voicing things out and sharing that energy with other people, but in a very healthy, positive way. And this is a great time to kind of work through all of that stuff. I've had so many people that told me, like, their self-talk has gotten really, really bad the last few months. And I'm like, that's kind of not a good thing. But it's one of those, like, they're like, it's almost like channeling my mom's voice coming out of my mouth and kind of telling me, like, you're not good enough, you're in the wrong career, this is the wrong person to marry, or whatever it is. And so this is kind of that, like, voice it out so you can work through all of it, and so you don't continually keep taking it home with you and keep reworking the same issues. Let's put one last card for us. dreams. A lot of times people will get images of their past life in their dream, and that's really, really cool to get that insight in your dream of a past life or things that you're working through. Like I said, a lot of people were having dreams about people passing or dying, and I was like, it's not necessarily that. It's kind of a way to show you that things are changing or modifying. Your dreams are one of your number one ways that your angels and guides are going to come to you and gift you a message or give you an insight into what's coming up. So it's really important to keep track of your dreams. And my kind of two things about that is get a pen and a notebook or a piece of paper by your bedside, so when you have the dream you can like write it all out and voice it, so you can kind of like take a look at it in the morning and kind of like, wow, this is interesting, where is I feel like this is coming in from. That is the most important part. Your dreams are really important to understand, because it's kind of like I said, it's your angels and guides giving you a message. And so really, really listen to that message really well and make sure that you're voicing things out. No matter any of this, if Pluto is active in your life, make sure that you are voicing things out so you can kind of clear them out and move them down the way. It is so important. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.